Let's talk the cut. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk the cut. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here, excuse me, on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube platform. And just in case you scroll by or just happen to pass through this channel and you're just catching the replay, I want to say this channel is about inspiration, it's about motivation, and it is also about challenging ourselves to show up better today than we did yesterday. It's about making sure that we are intentional and direct and deliberate about trying to show up better tomorrow than we have today. And in neither instance does it mean that yesterday was a failure or flop or today was a failure or flop. It simply means that we are intentional. That's the word. We're intentional about our evolution. We are intentional about our dynamics. We are intentional about our responses to the universe. It means that we are doing what we can to become better. We're doing what we can to grow. We're doing what we can to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. I don't know about you all, but I always want to show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. And life will throw you so many opportunities to show up your best self because I have had a lot of not so good situations. That doesn't mean I'm talking and speaking gloom and doom, but it means that I've had a lot of opportunities to allow my character to show up. I've had a lot of opportunities to allow my integrity to show up. And that's why we're chatting these 1800 seconds on these Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to make sure that we are rehearsing. We're rehearsing our responses because I said a couple of times ago that your response is what matters. I don't know about you all, but I've discovered in life that my response matters. It's not always what comes in my life that matters. It's not always the thoughts that come to my mind that matters. It's not always the people who come into my life that matters. It's not always what comes across my threshold that matters, but what really matters is my response. And I encourage you to share these 1800 seconds because we are rehearsing responses that are inspirational, responses that are challenging, responses that are motivating, responses where it looks like our second nature is to call on our integrity and our character so that we can show up our best selves all the time. So that when we're stuck in traffic, we don't end up sticking up the middle finger at people just because, they had a bad day in traffic. Because you know how sometimes you just start thinking, they cut me off in traffic. Most of the times, they don't even know who you are. I had to have that conversation with myself. Those people in that car don't know me. So maybe there was nothing intentionally directed toward me. They were just intentional about trying to be nasty in traffic to whomever they encountered. So we're just trying to talk in these 1800 seconds to see what we can do to challenge ourselves to be better. That's what it's all about, being and becoming better. That's why I wrote my last book, Billboards to Better. Those motivational quotes and sayings that you can look at every single day and encourage you to become better. I may have to pull that back and have a conversation about it one day, but let me just say thank you for those of you who have been with me for the long haul. Thank you so very much. And tell somebody that's to come on and let's talk the color because we're talking about real things. These past few uh, conversations, we've talked about how to handle disappointment, how to handle discouragement. And this evening, I want to talk about how to handle personal struggles. Well, I had the occasion earlier this week to revisit a favorite story of mine, a favorite biblical story. And it was this whole notion of Jacob wrestling with the angel. And I thought about that, and I've been thinking about that all week from the perspective of struggling, not necessarily fighting and trying to kill somebody, but just from the sake of struggling and trying to manage and maneuver and hold on and making sure that life is not always on top of you, because sometimes we think that we're on top of life, but other times life is on top of us. And so I want to talk this evening about how do we handle personal struggles? How do we deal with them? And I want to talk about it from a very practical standpoint. But before I do, I want to shout out the LTTC VIPs, those people who beat me over into the chat. And from my perspective, this is from my end, you all look like they were the first people to make it into the chat. So that looks like Hattie Boone, Bobby Dunmore, and Annie Cutler. So a good evening to you all. And I also see a good friend of mine who's here. Tita Edwards, good to see you, my friend. So listen, you want to tell somebody else to come on and let's talk to Colin. We're going to chat this thing out about how to handle personal struggles. And again, it comes from the fact that I got a chance to revisit a personal one of my favorite stories. And again, it was about I won't say poor Jacob, but it was about Jacob and what was his struggle, and not just his struggle with the angel, but his struggle in life. And the truth of the matter is that we all struggle. We all have situations that we have to handle. We have these situations. And I talked the last time, I talked about what is a disappointment. A disappointment is when our expectations and our outcomes are not congruent. So whenever the expectation and the outcome are not on the same, they're not on the same trajectory, they're not on the same wavelength, they're not congruent, they're not parallel, then we have a disappointment because we expected one thing, but we got something else. And so that's what a disappointment is. And when you have multiple disappointments over and 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 over, you find yourself going into what becomes a crisis situation, or you find yourself going into what becomes a struggle. And so then the question is, how do I handle that? Cutler, I think I can handle when I got one or two, but when I have 3, 4, 5, or 6 that I have to deal with repeatedly, and sometimes I have to deal with them simultaneously, how do I handle that? How do I deal with that? That is what makes for a struggle. And I want to talk about I want to talk about that. How do we handle these struggles? One of the things that I like to do here, I like to offer some practical plans. I like to offer some practical guidance. It's so good to see so many of y'all in the chat. I see Linda Martin, J Song for you, M Harris. It's so good to see all of you all. We're talking about how to handle struggles, and I want to offer some tips. And I come with an offering, and sometimes I really don't quite know what the thing is that I'm offering until I know what it is. And when I know what it is, then I'll offer it to you all this evening. But I want to start by talking about how to handle this struggle. One of the things, you all, we can always do, and we don't like to do this. We don't like to do this. We don't like to make plans. Cutler, that doesn't make sense. If I'm talking about how to handle personal struggles, you're telling me I have to plan for the struggle? Absolutely, yes. Because while you may not know what's going to happen in the future, you all, you can always plan ahead. Can I tell you what I call that? I call that planning against your deficit. Planning against your deficit. When you know that there's a situation that you don't handle like you would normally, when you know that you have that there's a deficit out of which you operate. I'm not my greatest in this kind of situations. I sometimes I'm not so strong in this kind of situation. So what I'm saying is this: plan for your deficits. Cutler, what do you mean? I mean, if you struggle with time management, if you know you are not good or the best at time management, what I'm saying is this: plan against your deficit. If you have a situation that's going to come up, if you have some deadlines that are going to come up, if you know later on in the year, in the month, in the week, that you're going to have to manage your time, and you know that time management is not your greatest asset, make a plan. That's called planning against your deficits. What else, Cutler? What do you mean? If you know that you're not good at managing finances, plan against your deficits. Get a financial planner, get somebody to help you. When you know that there's something that you're not good at, you have to plan against that, because if not, you're going to end up struggling with that situation when it shows up, and you're going to say, oh, when it rears its ugly head. But I'm telling you, it's not so much that it rears its ugly head. It's just that life happens. And when life happens, when we have made a plan for it, then the struggle is not as great. The struggle is not as impactful. The struggle is not, it's not so prone to make us succumb. So learn how to plan against your deficits. If you know that you are not your normal self in certain circumstances, like during the holidays, if you know that you're not your normal self, I don't function well during the holidays, make a plan. So that way you don't have to find yourself struggling emotionally and physically and spiritually and finances. Make a plan against your deficits. If you know, I want to put this one out there. If you know that perhaps when it comes to death, that you don't handle death, even the conversations about death, when you know that you don't handle those situations well, plan against your deficits. Whenever there's a situation and you know that you are not your normal self during those situations, plan against your deficits. Holidays, death, large family gatherings, whatever the situation may be, make a plan against your deficit. Look at the patterns in your life and see what challenges you struggle with. Most of us have lived long enough to know that there's some things that we struggle with. So what you want to do, you want to assess the optimal outcomes. Look at what's going to yield me my greatest return, my greatest outcome, and make a plan for how you can achieve that outcome. When it comes to this situation, I want the outcome to look like this. And you plan for that. There's nothing wrong with planning for struggles that will come. A lot of times we work in situations and environments, and you know the challenges that are coming. You know the things that are ahead. The same thing may be if you're in school. You know that exams are coming. You know that finals are coming. If you're not good at crunching at the last minute, make a plan. That's all I'm saying. So when it comes to personal struggles, let's just learn how to plan. Let's just learn how to plan. I think I see somebody new in the chat, so it is so good to see you. Let's make sure that we welcome Rashida Alias. Good to see you. All right. So we're talking about how to handle these personal struggles. And another thing I want to offer us this evening, you all, is knowing that you're not alone. Now, a lot of times we say that because people like to hear this cliche, misery loves company. This is not just about misery loving company, because the truth of the matter is, and I want to share this with you all, if I'm in a miserable situation, I don't love company. It's not that I don't love people. I don't want anybody else to be in that situation. I don't want anybody else to be in that situation. It is not that misery loves company, not when it comes to me, because if I'm going through a situation and I call it misery and it's not affecting me well, and I don't feel good about it, I don't want anybody else to have to deal with that. I don't want them to have to experience that, especially not my family, not my friends, not my loved ones. So when it comes to me, misery doesn't love company. But the truth of the matter is this, you all. Every person in this world has had and will have low points. Everybody in the world has had and or will have low points. Some people may handle or even hide it better than others, but the truth is, whatever you're going through, there are other people who have been through that same thing. So know that you're not alone. Cutler, why is that so important for me to know that I'm not alone? It is so you can see that somebody struggled and survived. I got to say that again. So knowing that you're not alone is not just because misery loves company, but I offer that so that you can see and know that somebody struggled with what you're struggling with and they survived. They struggled and they survived. One of the things that I've often thought about when it comes to this whole story of Jacob wrestling with the angel is this. I wondered what was going through his mind as he was dealing with that struggle. Now, this is just me and my creative mind thinking about what must have been going through his mind. And I opined that perhaps he thought, if I don't survive this, generations coming after me may not know how to struggle. They might not know how to survive the struggle. I'm saying to us this evening, know that people have gone through what you're going through and they survived. That's great. That's nice. But I'm offering this to us. Learn to become the example to other people to show them that I'm struggling, but I'm surviving. Life is not getting the best of me. Life is challenging me. Life is presenting opportunities and challenges, but guess what? I'm surviving. It gives you the opportunity to help someone else see and know that they can survive the struggle as well. I am so thankful for people who laid out the pattern so that I could see that whatever I'm going through, this too will pass. I can struggle and I can survive. But I'm equally thankful that I can be the example to show others that, you know what, you can make it through this. It's going to be all right. This too will pass. I'm loving the comments. I'm loving the comments. So I have to bring myself back down to 10, and so maybe I'll stay to 9.5. But I want you all to know that you're not alone. And just as you're not alone, live so that others can see that they're not alone. That was the basis of one of these poems that I wrote that was called Tired and Weary, that says, I live today so that my brother and my sister will live tomorrow. All right. So let me see this. Yes, somebody struggled with what you're struggling and survive. That's how we draw strength from each other. Absolutely. That is absolutely how we draw strength from each other. Here's something else. I see, I think I feel and I sense what is going to be on my offering plate this evening that I'm offering you all. Must be willing to share in order to encourage others. Marlon, you're reading my thoughts. You are inside my head, because the next thing that I want to encourage us to do is to ask for help. Ask for help. So we get it. Cutler, I get it that I'm not alone. And the fact that you're not alone means that you should be afraid. You all are right there. Or be afraid. Right. We can't hold our testimony or be afraid to tell it. Absolutely not. Because it's not always that we ourselves overcome by the words of our testimony, but may I suggest to you that other people are overcoming by the words of your testimony as well? And even if your testimony is just based on your behavior, your life, your actions, your deeds, other people will overcome based on your testimony. They really will. I'll take a look and see if I can pull that poem out before this conversation ends. Tired and weary. But listen, you all, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, is what I'm trying to say. Really, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're going through, don't be afraid to ask for help. There is no need to feel ashamed for asking for help. And I think that's what I'm coming with on my offering plate. And I'm offering that to us this evening. I'm offering the power and the strength to bust through shame, to bust through embarrassment, to bust through those things that will prevent us from asking for help. Whether you choose to rely on a loved one, a mentor, somebody in your community, somebody in your village, somebody in your social circle, whatever the case may be, or wherever they may reside, don't be afraid to ask for help. And so that's what I'm coming with on the offering table this evening, because a lot of times, you all, we suffer in silence. We struggle in silence. And we struggle and suffer in silence because of that thing that's called shame and embarrassment, and that thing that is called ego. People would think I'm less than because if I ask for help, if it looks like I'm going through this, but I come against that thing that stops us from asking for help. And so I'm putting it on the offering table, on the offering basket this evening, on the plate, on the smorgasbord of the table. And I'm saying, take the strength to get through shame, take the strength to get through embarrassment, and learn to ask for help. Because again, if you ask for help, you model for other people that it's okay to ask for help. What are we saying to our young people? What are we saying to our children and the next generation if we don't ask for help? We're modeling for them to suffer in silence. Let's not do that. Let us not do that. Let's show them that there really is strength in numbers. Let's model that for them. And then if we're talking about how to handle personal struggles, can we also do this? Can we be honest and tell people to feel what you feel? We don't like that. Feel what you feel. Color, what do you mean? Don't mask your feelings, because by masking your feelings, guess what? They're not going to go away. They really aren't. You will sweep them under the rug, and as you sweep them under the rug, you're creating a huge mound that you will trip and fall over. Don't you dare mask your feelings. Because what will happen is that feelings will become trapped. We don't like this. But this is true, you all. Your feelings, your emotions, whether extremely high or extremely low, they will become trapped energy. And they really can have negative health consequences. And we don't like to talk about that. They really can, particularly when they're ignored. I'm telling you, I give the analogy, I give the example of saying you sweep it under the rug and suddenly there becomes this huge rug, this huge mound under the rug, and you're just walking and one day you trip across, you trip and you fall. What did you trip and you fell across? You trip and fell across yourself. You trip and you fell across what you ignored. You tripped and you fell across what you didn't want to deal with. You tripped and you fell across what was inside you, but for some reason you didn't want to handle it. Take the time to feel what you feel and acknowledge it. Cutler, do you have a practical way for me to do that? Absolutely, I should do. I'm so glad you asked. Take a good walk, go outside, and as you're outside, as you're walking, you can just meditate. You can think on whatsoever things are lovely and just and pure and good and of an honest report, but you can also think about what you're feeling. Why am I feeling this way? What is prompting me to feel this way? What is the catalyst of this particular emotion? What is the genesis? What is the cause? What is the origin of this thing? Why do I feel the way I feel? It can be cathartic. It can be therapeutic to deal with what you're dealing with and feel what you feel. Because when you can acknowledge to yourself what you feel, you can acknowledge to others. I'm telling you, I'm offering us the strength of community. I'm offering us the strength of village. I'm offering us the strength of our circles. But sometimes you cannot call upon the strength of your community until you acknowledge where you need strength. I'm struggling and I need strength. I'm struggling and I need help. So feel what you feel. And you may come up with some solutions. You may come up with some resolutions. You may come up with some strategy. You'll come up with something to help you in the struggle. Because sometimes the something is somebody. So then, Cutler, what does that mean? That means you have to accept support. You have to accept the support. So far, let's think. Let's just recap these things. As we're dealing with the struggle, make a plan. Plan against your deficits. Know that you're not alone, because that way you get a chance to realize that somebody else struggled and they survived. And now I can be the pattern and model for someone else seeing that they can struggle and survive. And then asking for help. And then not only asking for help, but feel what you feel. And after you feel what you feel, accept the support. Accept the support, you all. Because asking for help is one thing. Asking for help is it's only one side of the coin. It's only one side of the equation. But on the other side of the coin, on the other side of that equation is your willingness to accept the support. You just can't go through the motion of asking for the support, but not accepting it. Because you have to know this. You have to know this. And help me to put this thing in perspective. You have to know that the people who come to your aid, they really do care about you. How do you know? Would you go to somebody's aid if you didn't care about them? Would you lend assistance if you really didn't have an ounce of care and compassion? It's the same way with other people. It is the same way with other people. People who truly care for you, when they come to your aid, be open to receiving it. One of the things that I remember was when my dad died, when my father died, and I had not experienced that kind of emotional hurt. And that was when I was telling you that for me, it's not about misery loving company or misery wanting company, because when I felt that, I wouldn't want anybody that I love to feel that. So when friends and lost parents after that, I had an inkling of what they were experiencing. And I offered support. And there were some times when friends said, Cutler, I don't know how to handle this. How did you deal with it? How did you go through it? And what I did out of a place of love, I offered assistance. I offered compassion. I offered a shoulder. I offered an ear. And not so much offering a tongue, but I offered not a bunch of talking, but I offered the ear, the shoulder. And when I did that, I did it because I cared about the people that I was trying to support. And a lot of times, understand this: if people could reach in and massage your heart and help your heart to stop hurting, they really would. So, so be open to the support that they're giving. So when you ask for support, when you ask for help, be open to accepting it. And a lot of times, can I tell you all this? A lot of times people, they really will fumble. They experience foibles and they fall because a lot of times they're trying to offer you help, and they're so trying to offer you help, and they're so overcome with emotion themselves until they may not say the right thing. They may not say the exact thing that you need or want to hear, but understand that it comes from a place of love. So be open to accepting the support. And you see, I'm talking a whole lot this evening about what I call reciprocity and reciprocal behavior. And so I say that because my next point really lends itself to that. When you are handling personal struggles, help other people. People don't want to. So when you I'm loving the comments, you all, and I see them, and I'm so thankful that you all are including these comments because I'm hopeful that people will see these comments when they catch the replay. That's why I leave the comments up. In addition to everything that we've talked about so far, make sure that you help other people. Why, Cutler? Why would you say that? Because what goes around comes around. What you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. If you've been through a situation or have advice for somebody you know is going through a tough time, be sure to help them out. Be sure to help them out because helping others not only benefits them, but it can also help you to feel happier. I don't know about you all, but I feel good when I help people. I feel better about myself when I'm able to help other people. And Cutler, why would you say that? Because my greatest blessing in life has come not with the things, but with the people who are in my life. I'm thankful when I can help other people. And it is not about arrogance. It is not about conceit. It is not about gloating. It is not about bragging, but it is about being available to others who are in this thing that's called humanity, to others who are in this thing that's called the human experience. I'm thankful when I can help other people because it makes me feel better about me. Makes me feel better about me. I want to end because someone asked if you all could hear the poem. I would see if I can find it very, very quickly. I think I can. Yes. When I talked about tired and weary, and I said that was the basis of my whole notion of saying, do what you can today so that you can help somebody else live tomorrow. Handle your struggles in a way so that others can look at you and you be the testament that says to them, this too will come to pass. This too will pass. You can make it. So I want to end by sharing this poem. And it's called Tired and Weary. It's actually one of my mother's favorite poems. Out of all that I've written, this is one of her favorites. And this is found in I don't remember. I think this is the second or third book. I'm not sure. But I want to read this poem. And we'll conclude this evening's conversation like this. And I want to say thank you for sharing these 1800 seconds with me. Wherever you've allowed me to come, thank you. Whether it's in your living room, your dining room, your kitchen, wherever it is, thank you so much for allowing me to come into that space. And I want to encourage us to do what we've been doing. Let's keep building community, maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up and keep your hopes up. Stay safe and stay sane, and know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. May I end by reading this: Tired and weary. Today I'm tired of living. Tired, just tired of giving and giving and giving so much until I give away my ability to get. Can't get up, get through, get there, get enough, get in, get out of my way, because I'm tired of living. Today I'm weary of life, weary, oh so weary from breathing and breathing breathless air and drinking dry water and thinking thoughtless thoughts. Thought I could, but I can't. Thought I would, but I won't. Thought I ought to, but I don't really want to be bothered because I'm weary. Today I'm tired, just tired and weary, oh so weary. But I live today because my brother and my sister may become tired and weary tomorrow. Thank you all for joining me. You have a fantastic evening. I'll see you the next time I see you. And until then, tell somebody else, come on and let's talk to Cutler. Have a good evening, everybody.